So, if you're watching this video, chances are you're planning on visiting Japan. You've probably read a bunch of blogs, watched a bunch of YouTube videos, spent hours researching on Google, and you're still unsure of how to prep for your trip. Prior to our trip, we also did what you're currently doing and noticed that many of the videos weren't really recent or up to date. Japan has been closed to tourists since the pandemic and has only recently opened up in the past few months. Well, luckily for you guys, my wife and I recently came back from our long-delayed honeymoon in Japan, and we got a chance to visit Tokyo and Osaka. While we were in Tokyo, we made trips to Akihabara, Shibuya, Asakusa, spent some time in Disneyland Tokyo, and even went to Disney at Sea. We then snuck out for a little bit to spend some time in Sanrio Puroland, located right in Tama, where we got to hang out with Hello Kitty and friends. On the second half of our trip, we traveled down to Osaka and then spent some time in Dotonbori and Shinsekai for some amazing food and a rainy day of shopping. We then took a trip to Kyoto to visit the shrines of Kiyomizu and then headed to Fushimi Inari to see the Red Gates. We also got to visit Universal City in Osaka for some Nintendo World, Jujutsu Kaisen, Spider-Man, Spy X Family, and experienced so much pop culture goodies. The craziest part about all this is that we had to squeeze it all into 5 days, which may seem like a lot of time, but trust me when I say this, it flies by very quickly. If you're visiting Japan for the first time like us, we know it can get overwhelming with the planning, the transportation, getting tickets to events, visiting hotspots, and just scheduling everything that you want to do. We've been there and done that, so I hope that this video can be helpful and assist you with planning your trip. So right off the bat, transportation and travel. Like us, you probably did a bunch of research on how to get around in Japan, and you probably think that you have the whole transportation thing on lockdown. Well, guess what? It can get way more confusing when you're there in person with a million signs to read and hundreds of people running around everywhere. It can be a bit overwhelming, but don't worry, there's always staff around to provide assistance, especially when you need it. While we were in Japan, we didn't take any cabs at all because it was A, more expensive, and B, more time consuming just because the traffic can be pretty crazy, so you'll probably get hung up at a bunch of stoplights. The subways and trains run about every 5 to 10 minutes, and because they're only stopping to pick up and drop off passengers, this made it the quickest and most reliable method of transportation and is the one that we would recommend. If you're taking public transportation, I'd recommend you book a hotel or get an Airbnb that's a walking distance to the train or subway station, as it'll help you get around faster. Make sure you purchase the 3-day passes for both the Tokyo Metro subway lines and the Japan Railways JR Shinkansen bullet trains in advance before traveling, because you might not be able to buy them in person. When we were visiting, most of our stops revolved around us getting on and off both of these lines, so the passes saved us a lot of time and money since we messed up quite a bit with our stops. If you plan on traveling to more rural areas, do some research on what subway and what train lines will take you there, and if the passes will cover the travel fees. For example, when we traveled to Puroland, which is located in Tama, our passes did not cover the fare for the ride there. We had to get off at the Tokyo Metro and then purchase the tickets at the kiosk for another train in order to get there. I would recommend spending your first day just exploring and getting to know the areas, because you're going to get lost, you're going to make mistakes, you will get frustrated, but it's okay. The 3-day passes will make up for all the fare you'll be paying during the process, and the staff at each station are extremely helpful. We noticed the peak level of passengers was right around 8 a.m. when everyone was heading to work and heading to school, and then right around 5 p.m. when all of the people who went to work and went to school were getting off. The early mornings are the least packed, and later evenings do tend to vary, but do keep in mind that many people use the public transportation as an everyday solution to get around, so it can get quite busy and it will get quite packed. The second thing that I want to talk about is packing. If possible, pack light. Japan can get really narrow and is very packed, so the less baggage you have, the easier it is to move around. I made the mistake of bringing a big backpack filled with all of my camera gear, which made it hard to do any type of shopping because most of the shops are in small buildings with many floors that are jam-packed. When we went to Akihabara and Shibuya to shop, it was so tight that I almost knocked over a lot of the merchandise and accidentally hit people several times with my backpack as well. If you're carrying luggage and are taking public transportation, keep in mind that the subways and trains do tend to get very packed throughout the entire day. chances are you'll probably be standing a lot and you'll be holding on to all of your luggage on the trains and on the subway. Many of the stations also don't have escalators, and the elevators are usually far away from the stops that you'll need to be at. So there's a high chance you're going to have to take the stairs quite a bit with all of the luggage. When packing, definitely bring the essentials like toiletries and undergarments. Depending on your sizes, clothing and shoes in Japan tend to run smaller. So if you need bigger sizes, bring stuff that'll fit you. All of the hotels we stayed at though had laundry rooms and service. So if you find yourself needing to do some laundry, they got you covered. We were also provided with deodorizing sprays as well, which came in handy when we were in a rush and needed a quick spray to smell clean. Depending on what season you're going in, bring at least 1 or 2 reliable outerwear that's easy to pack and will keep you dry and warm. If you can, bring a small umbrella for the rainy days. Now the third thing I want to talk about is money management. Most of the videos and blogs out there will tell you to bring a lot of cash because most places don't take cards. Well, guess what? 90% of the places that we visited, from restaurants to shops to historical places, all took Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, aka Diners Club cards, and so much more. The only time we really needed cash was for purchasing subway and train tickets for lines that weren't covered in our passes. They were about $5 both ways, so it wasn't a big deal. We also paid cash in most street food vendors, most meals which were less than $10 a pop. Many of the local shops did take credit card payments, so luckily for us, we were able to track most of our funds on a single credit card. Even though Japan was pretty safe, I'm just not very comfortable in general with carrying a lot of cash because it's easy to lose it or have it be stolen. I would recommend assessing what places you're visiting, determine how rural it's going to be, and then only bringing enough for transportation, food, and shopping. Now, the next piece I wanted to talk about is communication. It is okay to ask for help. During our trip, everyone was extremely friendly, and whenever my wife and I had gotten lost or had any questions, we would simply ask someone for help. They were all very kind and pointed us in the right direction, regardless if they worked at the location or were just a local. If you get confused about anything, whether it comes to reading signs, directions, or just have general questions, Google Translate is going to be your best friend. Even if you don't speak Japanese, you should learn how to say the basic things like hello, excuse me, thank you, goodbye, and then use Google Translate to assist with any conversations that might be too complex for both you and the person you're speaking with. And the next piece I wanted to talk about is the safety out there. If you're skeptic about how safe it is in Japan, just know that it is one of the safest places that I've ever visited. I've been around enough bad neighborhoods to know what a bad neighborhood is. There were times where my wife and I were out late at night and no one even bothered us or even approached us to start any type of trouble, conversations, or try to upsell something. Most of the people keep to themselves and we never ran into any dangerous encounters. Just follow the basic rules of being anywhere that you're unfamiliar with, especially if you're traveling alone. Don't walk into dark alleyways, don't go somewhere that doesn't have a lot of people around, be respectful, and don't be afraid to say no if people offer you drinks, food, or ask you to hang out with them. Basically, just be smart and you'll be fine and you'll be safe. And last but not least, just remember to have fun. It's going to be a long flight, probably expensive, and it'll definitely be over before you know it. So take your time to enjoy the sights, explore different locations, try different foods, buy some goodies, and just have a fun adventure. It was just a great feeling to be able to go to places that I've never been to before, eat food that I've never eaten, go on rides that I've never gone to, and just experience the entire thing together for our long overdue honeymoon. My advice would be to just enjoy your time in Japan, be adventurous, and just have fun while it lasts. And overall, I think if you're planning on visiting Japan, you're going to have a great time, especially if you're into a lot of pop culture, electronics, anime, you name it, food, they got it all. Every trip has its nuances, but this for me was one of the best places I've ever visited, and I'd love to return someday to explore other areas and do things that I didn't get a chance to do. With that being said, if you found this video helpful, please click the like button, as it'll help this video be seen by more people and help this channel grow. If you have any questions, comments, or just want to say hi, please drop it in the comment section below, and please don't forget to subscribe. Again, thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you all next time. Peace.